We back on the road, and want to talk about what happened with the car. Now I'm out here blind, and I'm not going to really rump on it. I'm still tweaking the tune a little bit, but let's talk about what happened with the car. So the video I posted a while back, I was having this issue where the headers were glowing red after not even driving it, I would say a quarter mile. You know, I would drive it maybe like a few blocks, and you know, the car started stumbling, falling on its face. I would pull over and check it out, and headers would be glowing red. That Cobra over there, I wish I could find him, but I got distracted by the Cobra. So yeah, so I went through this whole process of troubleshooting, and I asked a bunch of you guys and ladies out here, what do you think the problem was? And I had some real good suggestions. Nobody, you know, there is no stupid questions or answers or whatever like that. Everybody gave a real good, sensible answer. And what was happening, I replaced just about almost every ignition basic sensor except one. The 94, 95, you don't have too many ignition based sensors or components. You have the DISI, the ECU, the coil, what else? The ignition control module. So in the process, I replaced everything except the ignition control module. And one day, I was working on the box intake, and I wanted to check my base fuel pressure. So I had the key turned on, and I disconnected the battery. So whenever I touched the post on the battery, you know, the pump would prime, and I just wanted to see what the base pressure was. And I did that, and I heard this popping noise coming from the coil. And so I repeated it a couple of times, and sure enough, it was coming from the coil. So I took the coil wire off, you know, did the little trick that you can do when you test for spark. I stuck a screwdriver in there and held it close to a piece of metal, and sure enough, I hooked the battery up, key on, it was firing spark. Now, I've never heard of that or seen that before, and I replaced everything except that ignition control module. I even replaced the ECU. I had a spare ECU. So everything was replaced except the ignition control module. But I still didn't believe it was that, so what I did, I plugged it back up to the DISI, and I pulled the wire off the DISI. Same thing, touch it, put a screwdriver in, hold the screwdriver near a piece of metal, hook up the power cable to the battery, and it shoots a spark through the DISI. So the weirdest thing ever, I even talked to my tuner about that. Shout out to Decipher. He said he's never heard of that before. And so I was getting a pre-ignition spark. Like, with the key on, the distributor or the ignition module was telling the ECU to send a spark. And so what I ended up doing is I replaced the ignition control module, and that was the issue. Weirdest thing ever. Like I said, I've never read about that online, about ignition I know about pre-ignition, but I never heard of pre-ignition. So if you guys ever heard of that before, shoot a comment down there and tell me what your experience is with that. But another thing, I had the box intake on for a while, and I just had all kind of trouble getting that thing to to fit. Like, I couldn't use my adjustable fuel pressure regulator because it just sits too tall. My hood wasn't really closing all the way. It was just my hood pins that was basically keeping it. So it's basically my hood pins keeping the hood closed. Like, the box intake was so tall, it wouldn't allow the hood to latch. So as much as I wanted to run that box intake, I couldn't. So I'm back to the tubular GT40 intake, and the car's running good. Now, like I said, I have an issue with the car. Once it hits fourth gear, it's kind of falling flat on its face. Now, the only thing that's changed from last year to this year is the Circle D converter. And yeah, technically I did change the intermediate clutches. That could be an issue, but yes, I did go into the transmission. So I have to log my my line pressure and see how my line pressure is. But off the bat, let's talk, because this is really a good time to talk about the Circle D converter compared to the Roadrunner converter. Now, I did foot brake this. Not on this video, but I did foot brake it. And I can foot brake this thing almost to 4,000 RPM. So my 60 foots are gonna be way better just off of that. Because, you know, with the Roadrunner, I was kind of breaking out of the box at around 2,400 RPM. But this Circle D will, like I said, allow me to foot brake to 4,000 RPM. It's a big difference. Now, just driving it around, it doesn't feel much difference outside of that issue I'm having when it gets into fourth gear. That seems like the biggest issue right there. So I sent the data log to my tuner. You know, this guy's great. EFI dyno tuning. If you have a C-Baza strategy, 94, 95s, and in Fox bodies, pretty much any other strategy, this guy is wonderful. My drag radios on. I just got these NT01s, and I'm not really trying to rump on it right now because it will break these little tires loose fairly quick. But yeah, my tuner, Decipher, EFI dyno tuning, like, definitely. He's a remote tuner, so no matter where you are, he can hook you up. Like, around here, nobody wants to tune these 94, 95s. Like, everybody's pushing Terminators, Holly, go Holly, go Holly. Like, they get to a certain number, and as far as horsepower wise, and the guys just can't tune it. Like, I had a friend, Ken had an SN95, and kind of same thing with him. He's got an on 3 turbo kit, 331 or 347, I believe, 76 millimeter, and right around the 500 or 600 horsepower, they were telling him, like, you need a Holly. You got to have a Holly. Like, with this setup I have right here, like my tuner told me, like if I was to turn this up to 2,200 pounds, not 2,200, not 2,200 pounds, 22 PSI, like that would be the limit of tuning capabilities that he can do with this stock ECU. There's no point in me ever doing that, because at one point in time I was really, it was a goal to try to hit 9 seconds in this car. It's not that big of a goal now, to be quite honest with you. And honestly, like how much horsepower is really usable on the street? Like horsepower on the dyno, that's good for bragging. Horsepower at the track, that's good. You know, 900, 800 horsepower on the street, it's not that usable, you know? So what I'm doing right now is, to keep the car from going into 4th gear, is under wide open throttle, because that's when the issue is, I mean, not wide open throttle, but under part throttle. I haven't been wide open throttle on this car yet. I haven't been wide open throttle on this car yet. I'm still working with the tune, but I'm just keeping the overdrive off to keep the car from going into 4th gear, because what happens is it shifts and it goes a little rich and a car kind of just falls. It just loses a little power. Now that could be a fueling issue by going so too lean. Be going too lean, I mean not too lean, too much fuel, and it kind of stumbles for a second. But I don't want to go wide open throttle till my tuner and I get this straightened out. So I've been doing a lot of just part throttle pulls. Say that a bunch of times. Foot brake it over here, but I don't want to waste that data log. I don't want to waste that data. It's a whole bunch of part throttle pulls. And another reason why I wasn't going wide open throttle is over the past couple of years, or pretty much ever since I've had this on-3 kit, I was having problems with silicone couplers popping off. Now I got pretty much all of them secured last year, except the one for the throttle body kept popping off. So I had to get like a 30 degree coupler. Found like a 30 degree coupler, and it's perfect. Like I'm super happy with it, and I'm so upset right now. I feel like I'm doing all these pulls, these part throttle pulls, and I'm wasting no data. So I'm fairly confident this year wide open throttle pulls, no issues with any silicone couplers popping off. Although I didn't have any problems last year with it popping off, but I turned the boost down. I had to turn it down to about 12 PSI. You know, last year I wanted to hit 16, but every time I got above 1 bar, it kept popping that silicone couple off. So this year we'll hit the 16, see how the fueling looks, and yo, maybe we might turn up a little bit more than that. Yeah, I really hope I can find that dude. I don't think it's an 03 Cobra, if I remember. I had a buddy who had a 2-valve, this guy named Brendan. I haven't seen him in a while out here. But I believe that's an 01 Cobra with the 03 body kit. And I believe he has like a Pro Charger on that. So he's out here. Hopefully I'll run into him and get a chance to talk to him. Maybe set something up for later on. So this is my Circle D, man. Like this is a 37. I don't know if it's a 36, 37, 38. I don't remember. But yo, it drives real smooth. Having no problem with it like bucking or anything. I actually kind of feel now like I should have went even higher on my stall. I feel like I cheated myself a little bit. How that turbo, the sound of that turbo spooling. Alright, y'all, gonna end this video. I really appreciate everybody encouraging me and giving me advice, because it's frustrating, you know, when you have these cars and something's wrong and you can't figure it out. So will I make Ford Takeover? I'm not sure. I'm trying to get this arranged. The problem is, like, my tow vehicle is down right now. And I gotta try to figure out another way to get the car down there to Jackson, Tennessee. Hopefully I can get it down there. I really want to get the car down there and hopefully get a chance to meet more of you. But please go ahead and give me a like on this video, leave some comments, give me some feedback. How do you think the car sound? A lot of this was just part throttle pull, so you know, you really can't gauge how the car is pulling. Like, I can tell the car is pulling different with the Circle D converter. But if you have a Circle D converter, you came from another brand, leave a comment and tell me what you think about it. Also, I'm not knocking the Roadrunner converter. For this setup, it just wasn't good for this setup. Naturally aspirated, guys, it probably would be a good converter. But for this, I needed a triple disc. So, I'm saying that because once I get to the 1,000 subscriber mark, I'm going to give that converter away. I'm going to have it rebuilt, and I'm going to send it directly to you. No shipping, no waffle, raffle, taffle, none of that. You know, I'm going to go live, and before I go live, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do to give it away, but you have to be on my live to qualify to win. So in order for me to go live, I need 1,000 subscribers. So I need y'all to go ahead and get me up there on the subscription list and help me get that 1,000. Like, if I can't make it to Ford Takeover, I'm definitely going to Mustang Week. I'm definitely going to be at Bleed for Blue Fest. So I appreciate your time. Subscribe to the channel, please. Tell your friends. Follow me on Instagram at SN95 Power. And God bless.